Mike Aubrey is a licensed realtor and host of HGTV's Real Estate Intervention. Mike, it's curb appeal that's so important, isn't it? Because you want somebody to be hooked right away. There are a lot of houses for sale. You've got to make the first impression.
Absolutely. I mean, Christine, you get one shot to put your best foot forward. And when you talk about a marketplace where there is as much inventory out there as there is right now, if you don't hook them in about 2 seconds, they're going to be gone and never come back.
You know, in a job interview, they say you've got 15 seconds to make the first impression. For a house, selling a house, you got 15 seconds to make the first impression. I think it's really interesting that a steel door, you know, $1,000 or $1,200 might be the best return on your investment. It is really that curb appeal. But look, we feel like the sellers have all these disadvantages, but remember, there are buyers who are out there. There are people moving for their jobs. There are people who are trying to start their first household. Is this a good time to be buying a house? Interest rates, mortgage rates are still very low.
I'll tell you what, Christine, I think that this is maybe the most incredible time to buy a property we've ever seen. If you can make it through the hoops of actually being able to qualify for the loan, and you can get through the underwriting standards, which right now are so tenuous, maybe like we've never seen in the country, then it's a great time to buy, because not only are you going to lock in a great interest rate, I think that we have neared the bottom of the marketplace, and you're going to be able to buy a house for lower than anyone has in a while.
We know from the recent numbers, you can see that selling your house has never been harder. When it comes to the numbers, existing home sales out from the National Association of Realtors, housing starts, new homes being built, down 10.6% in April. Home values are down 32% from their peak in May, according to S&P Case-Shiller. What's your advice if you're looking to sell with this kind of a forecast?
You know what? I think that you absolutely have to realize what is going on in the marketplace. There is no room for fantasy anymore. You have to realize where you sit, how you compare to the other properties that you're up against, and have a realistic idea of what worth actually is. I mean, I've told you on your program more than once, you have to price it right and you have to look good. If you don't have those two things, you won't be successful in this market.
I think you're absolutely right on that. And you've heard it again and again. I mean, if you've got a house down the street that is a foreclosure and another house down the street that has a big fancy $100,000 kitchen, you got to figure out where you are in here, but it has to be priced right. If you keep lowering the price, you're coming in from a big position of weakness. Price it right at the first time.
Correct. I mean, because if you chase the market, Christine, and that's what you're doing, if you come on at a certain price and you just continue to make downward movements, if you go through that market chase, then what I can tell you is you're going to end up with less net proceeds in the end than the person who just prices it right up front.
Should some people be renting instead of buying a house right now?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, and I'll tell you why, because some people have to rent instead of buy a house right now. One of the reasons why we're going to see rents explode over the next few years is because those tenuous underwriting standards that I was talking about, people can't get loans. That puts them in a position, where they have to rent.
Right.
Because they have to rent, that in turn makes rent prices go up, and basically I think that those people end up being in a position now where they're competing for rentals because they can't buy, which serves to just make the resale market go down even more.
While they repair their finances then, by the time they come out on the other end, they may very well have a mortgage document that's going to be much simpler than the mortgage documents that caused so much of this heartache in the beginning. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau just releasing drafts of what they're going to look like. You're going to be able to shop around for a mortgage and very clearly see on there the disclosure, how much it's going to cost you every month, the terms of that loan. I can read these documents without having to sit there and scratch my head and having a financial glossary alongside me.
I mean, how spectacular is it that you finally are going to get a document that clearly stipulates what the loan amount is for, how much it costs you to get it, how long it's going to take you to pay it off, are there any prepayment penalties, and it puts you in a position where you can almost do a loan like you would do a car. You can go to different dealerships and you can make that comparison and go with the best deal. And I think that's what this is all about, is trying to make sure the consumers have full disclosure and are able to make great decisions.